Welcome back to BrigsSpeak. As you are aware, in this series, we are talking about one of the most important events that have shaped the geopolitical landscape of South Asia, the 1947 invasion of Kashmir by tribal forces from Pakistan under Operation Gulmarg. The pressing question we will explore: did Britain know about the plan? Was there British complicity or deliberate silence in the lead up to this conflict? To understand Britain's motivations, we need to first explore why Pakistan was created. Many scholars suggest that Pakistan served a critical strategic purpose for Western powers, particularly Britain and the US. The creation of Pakistan provided a frontline state to act as a buffer against Soviet communism. As Churchill once said, he feared that the majority of Hindus oppressed due to the caste system might be drawn to the strong emphasis of equality in communist philosophy. Pakistan's northwest region was envisioned as a buffer between India and the USSR. East Pakistan could also keep the East Asia under observation. The geostrategic location of Pakistan is such that it could block a direct land access to warm waters to Moscow. The US Air Force also wanted a listening post for CIA to keep the activities of USSR under surveillance. Through Pakistan, British wanted to dominate the Strait of Hormuz and the Suez Canal, countering Russian influence. The location of Pakistan was such that it could keep an eye on Iran, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. Mr. Jinnah, while arguing for a separate country, said that a country which is created on the ideology of Islam would never join hands with irreligious communists. Pakistan did provide air bases near the borders of USSR to keep the Soviet Union's underbelly under surveillance. In today's episode, we will also cover chapter number 2 of the prescribed book, that is, Did Britain Know of the Operations? We'll carry out an analysis of British officers' role and their possible complicity in 1947 Kashmir conflict. The code name given to the operation was Operation Gulmarg. It was a covert military plan by Pakistan to seize control of Kashmir before India could respond militarily. The operation was spearheaded by Colonel and later Major General Akbar Khan. He used tribal forces from northwest frontier, lured by promises of loot, to quickly overrun Kashmir. The critical question remains: did Britain, particularly British officers serving in both Indian and Pakistani militaries, have prior knowledge of this plan? Before we find out that, let's see what Akbar Khan wrote in his book. He felt that the operation was just a cakewalk. 7,000 tribesmen with 300 to 400 buses and lorries were made available to the raiders. The expected resistance was only from Jammu and Kashmir state forces, who were not well trained, and they would be taken by surprise. Akbar Khan had taken steps to wean away a large percent of officers and men of the Jammu and Kashmir state forces from their loyalty to the ruler. Defection at the moment of strike was expected. There was no reason regarding the outcome of operation. Colonel Akbar Khan felt that he is going to win the war. Active opposition from India was ruled out because of time and space factor. Kashmir Valley would be Pakistan's before India realized what had happened. Any protests that might follow could be debated on political platforms, but possession was important. This is where the operation had started. This is Domil, where two rivers, that is Neelam from north and Jhelum from east, meet near Muzaffarabad. This is the latest image of the area. However, it could not have been so populated in 1947. Domel to Srinagar, about 100 miles. Let's now examine what were the weaknesses of this plan. First of all, the tribal reaction to various situations which they are likely to encounter were not debated upon. Tribals were tempted to undertake the operation. They were shouting slogans, Zan, Zar, Sar, Zameen, which means they were looking for women, wealth, head, and land. Motor transport was essential in order to take the booty back. There's a bridge near Uri, which the state forces, while withdrawing, had demolished. This blocked the further passage of the vehicles, so the tribals also decided to stay put there. In fact, they stayed back for 4 days before some alternative could be made. This played a vital role in saving the valley. What were the vulnerabilities of Jammu and Kashmir? First of all, Jammu and Kashmir state forces were deployed for internal security and not for defense against attack from outside. Gilgit in the north to Suchetgarh in the south, a distance of approximately 240 miles, was garrisoned by a weak battalion to a platoon. Indian intelligence did not find it necessary to oversee what was happening in Jammu and Kashmir, which was till that time a friendly autonomous state. The IB of the government of India was dealing with bloody tales of partitions. Let's now examine role played by senior military and civilian leaders. Field Marshal Auchinleck. He was the supreme commander of the joint headquarters of the militaries of India and Pakistan. They were looking after the partition of the armed forces and ensure that their assets were fair. This organization was staffed entirely by British officers. He had free access to both governments and their armed forces headquarters and was in constant touch with them. General Sir Frank Messervy, the commander-in-chief of the Pakistan Army, had certainly known of Akbar Khan's plan. It is difficult to believe that he did not brief the supreme commander of the upcoming Operation Gulmarg. Sir George Cunningham, he was the governor of Northwest Frontier Province. He writes in his book that he was surprised when the then Pakistan government departed from the maintained policy of containing the tribesmen in Northwest provinces itself. He also claims that he dropped a hint to General Sir Rob Lockwood, who was the commander-in-chief of the Indian Army at that time. Cunningham also knew Messervy and Auchinleck well, and it is more than certain that he must have warned both of them. General Lockwood, who should normally have served for 4 years with effect from 15th August 1947, was dispensed with by the Indian government on 31st December 1947 itself. Was it a British complicity or was it a deliberate silence? The two commanders-in-chief of the Indian Army and the Pakistani Army knew each other well and had served the same army a couple of months before the incident. Their headquarters were linked by telephone and wireless circuits. Messervy knew what was happening and was about to happen. Because planning involved considerable amount of equipment and posting of officers to the headquarters of General Jabil Tariq, which was the code name of Colonel Akbar Khan. Pakistan GHQ did send a telegram to CNC that 5,000 tribesmen had attacked and captured Muzaffarabad and Domail. This information also was not passed on to Indian Army. Let's have a look at what happened in Gilgit Baltistan. With the announcement of Mountbatten Plan on 3rd June 1947, Gilgit, which was taken on lease by the British Indian government from the Maharaja, handed back to the Maharaja. On 31st October 1947, soon after the tribal invasion of Kashmir had commenced, the Gilgit scouts surrounded the residence of governor and a provisional government was installed. On 4th November 1947, Major Brown, the British commandant of Gilgit Scout, hosted the Pakistani flag. On November 21, political agent from Pakistan came over and established himself in Gilgit. What was the strategic value of Gilgit Baltistan? The strategic value of Gilgit as a base was first realized in 1935, hence the lease. Its importance had not changed in 1947 and in fact had grown much beyond the earlier estimate because of the vastly increased power of Soviet Union. Britishers realized that India would never have agreed to Gilgit being used for spying or mounting an attack on USSR. All these factors, when we see together, point out to the direction that the British were aware of the plans of Pakistan to invade Kashmir and take possession of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. With this, I come to the end of today's episode. You're requested to like, share, comment, and also subscribe. Keep working hard. Jai Hind.